The folks at Jinko Fishing not only bring you the Low Budget Live podcast, they also bring you low lifers, amazing deals on their website, jinkofishing.com, on all of their products just for being a low lifer. If you use code LBL25, you can save on things like the Offspring buzzbait, one of the most unique buzzbait designs I've ever seen. It has a spring molded into the lead on the head that the blade hits, makes an amazing clacking, squeaking sound that gets a bite. And the all-new tin cannon walking topwater, a tungsten weight that acts as a rattle in here. You can cast it a country mile. 8 amazing colors. It gets a bite. I've been catching them on it the last couple of weeks. It is shad spawn time. Get you a tin cannon. You will not be disappointed. JinkoFishing.com, LBL 25. Hang the daggum banner. That's right, the Bassmaster Classic winning, all welded, 96-inch beam, more tackle storage than you can shake a stick at. Fastest hole shot in the game, aluminum bass snatcher. The Express X21. They've also got the X19. They got the H20, the H18, the H17. They got bay boats. They got duck boats. They got a boat that will fit your needs and your budget. Get on their website. Check out their dealer locator to find a dealer near you. Express Boats, building excitement since 1966.
Blues, it happens every night. And I
every
ain't
night.
Never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine.
Nope.
The summer heat never treats me kind. It leaves trouble on my mind. So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time. This highway does not know my name, and I don't care.
No.
I don't care. Heading my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare. Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.
Low budget live, the not so live variety from the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill here in beautiful southern Middle Tennessee. And I hope all you low lifers are doing well out there. And this is the podcast for Monday, May the 19th. And goodness gracious, I feel like May has been a blink of an eye. But time flies when you're having fun, or you're just always gone, I think, in life. And I have been spending a lot of time away from the house. This is definitely in the crescendo, as they would say, in my Alabama Bass Trail, NPFL, podcasting, and then in personal life. This is, I mean, as busy as I get right now, I feel like. So we got 4 tournaments in June, 3 in May, lots going on. Got graduation just wrapped up. My dude Wes, our Marissa, my youngest stepson, he's mine, basically, graduated this past Friday night. That's the final one of the triple threats. Got 2 of them Duncan boys left to go, but goodness gracious, man. It's last week was a whirlwind, something every day and night to celebrate Wes, and all you mamas and daddies out there going through it right now with graduation. I'm with you. It is it's definitely a trying time thinking about those next, the next chapter, what's coming. And did you do a good enough job to get them prepared for it? Are they ready for the next chapter? Man, it is scary, especially, I'm real proud of Wes and the grown man he has turned into. But, man, when you look around the gym, like, are we ready for this next generation? You're sitting there at graduation, and you're like, I don't know. I don't know if they're ready. I don't know that we're ready for them to be in the next chapter out here mixing it up with the rest of us, trying to make a living and whatnot. Now, congrats to all the graduates. So I got an 8th grade graduation tonight for Ryder, man. I guess my other kids did that. Ryder's our youngest and is 14 years old going into his freshman year. But they, I feel like, and I'm not one of those screaming out participation trophies and all that kind of stuff, but you ought to pass 8th grade, man. You ought to pass 8th grade. All right. So I told Ryder this Friday night. Like, there ain't no reason we should be gathering to watch you get a certificate for passing the damn 8th grade. All right. It's 8th grade. And really, I kind of feel that way about high school graduation. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to get through high school. You know, barring any major disasters, you're supposed to do that. And we throwing parties. You get presents. You get money sent to you. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that. So, that being said, we'll end up throwing Ryder a party for getting out of the 8th grade. I had that thought this weekend. I was like, you're supposed to do all this. We're just acting like they did the extraordinary here, you know? And see, when I graduated, you get all the kids that they're, you know, cum laudes and summa cum laudes and all the things. And they were like, Luke, just graduating. Here comes Luke. He's just graduating. Magna cum rarely. Or whatever. That's how my kids are. Other than Harper definitely above the pack a little bit when it comes to grades and all that. She's an overachiever, but the rest of us, man, the rest of these men in this house around here, mine and the triple threat, these boys, they just graduate. we just getting them on to the next place. But shout out to all you graduates. Shout out to all you parents going through it. We have been a little bit. There's definitely been some tears shed around here. It's just it's a strange time in life, man, because it does go by so freaking fast. And just as I said in the beginning of this with May, just clicking by so dang fast, the years definitely do that. They do. And all you can hope is that you've given it, if you are a parent that strives to be a good parent, put them in a position where they can make the best decisions and they're ready for whatever's coming at them next. So definitely been that kind of time around here. I left graduation was over, I guess 8:30 or so Friday night, and then drove 5.5 hours down to Eufaula, Alabama for the Alabama Bass Trail there, and running on fumes as always, but got to see my ABT fam and got to see an incredible tournament. Lake Eufaula was alive and well. It was good to see. Eufaula has kind of been, I don't want to say in a downturn necessarily, but it has been, you see pictures of fish. They got like red spots all over them, if that makes sense. Eufaula, Alabama. And I feel like we have to say that. They're going to Eufaula, Oklahoma a lot in tournaments. We're going there for NPFL this year. But every big bag that was weighed in on Saturday, and I think there were 8 over 20, and it took almost 17 to get a check. I mean, it was a good event for ABT, the ABT South. And they all just looked, this is what tournament director John Simpson and Daniel Montgomery, assistant tournament director, on stage with me. We just kept talking about, like, the fish looked as good as they've looked in a very long time down there, and that's promising. That's promising, and so glad to see it. Because Eufaula is one of those, like, I thought about that. I didn't get in until like 1:30 in the morning or so down there, 1:32, whatever time I laid down, and finally at Lake Point State Park. And it is just, every time I head south going to Eufaula, there's something nostalgic about it, because it is, between the Tom Mann history there, between its history and bass fishing lore. The first ever NPFL for me was there. I have fished multiple events down there over the years. Just so many different things in life have happened for me being around Eufaula. But then it's just that historical. It's just one of those places, man. It's like Gunnersville. Like, you kind of get geeked out. Or Okeechobee or Sam Rayburn, Thousand Islands, St. Lawrence River. Those kind of places are just, the Potomac River's like that for me. They're just that bass fishing, lore on that Mount Rushmore. Might not be a tourist destination for many. It's not the Sabine River. But Eufaula is a special place, man. We got to leave graduation, go straight there down to that ABT South, and now we head to NPFL this week. So definitely a busy time. Speaking of the Sabine River, Some of y'all just can't be pleased. Some of y'all can't be pleased. And maybe I'm one of y'all when it comes to that. I love a grinder. I love a tough tournament, especially in the fall. Like I like fall tournaments. I've talked about that for years. Anybody's ball game. I think those are normal fishing conditions for most people that don't get to travel all over the country, that only get to fish whenever their schedule allows it, their work schedule, their family schedule. They just get thrown whatever conditions and they got to go try to figure it out. And you know what? If they catch 10 or 12 pounds in a day, they're happy, right? I see it on the Alabama Bass Trail a ton. You get a guy who weighs in 18 pounds, the biggest bag he's ever caught. You know, maybe he's only been fishing a couple years and he catches that stringer. I see that. I feel that emotion on stage when they bring that up. And for a lot of diehard tournament anglers, like, oh, 18 pounds. Well, you know, it's a big deal to a lot of people. You know, people don't just catch 5-pounders laid up everywhere. All right. You know, the Lake Fork kind of bags, the Gunnersville, you know, the Toyota series at Gunnersville this past week, insane. You know, 20-something bags over 20 on the first day. Like, those aren't pedestrian numbers. Okay. Like I think that we get jaded as fans of the sport. And I know I do, working in the industry, you just kind of take for granted. Those things don't happen all the time. And I'm not, and the Sabine's on the other end of that spectrum. Okay. The point I'm trying to make is the Sabine sucks, but lower weights are what more people are accustomed to, in my opinion, unless you live around somewhere like a Rayburn, like a Gunnersville, Pickwick. You know, you're down in Florida, you're going to see those mid-20s bags a lot. I get that, but I think the Sabine is more in line with what people are used to in a lot of the country. If you live, you know, a lot of fisheries in Ohio, if you know, a lot of places up north, a lot of places in the Midwest, I think you're dealing with stingy fishing. Now, they had horrible conditions. It was flooded out and all that. So it definitely didn't help. I'm not a fan, though. I say all that to say this. I love a grinder tournament. Anybody's got a chance and all that. I'm not a fan of the Sabine tournaments. I never really have been since the jump. I think it's an interesting playing field. I think it's a wild card. It's always a shakeup. Typically in the points, Jay Shakura, not for him. He's having such a stupid good year. It didn't shake up anything for him. He caught him. And Koya and Chris Johnson and so many of those guys, they're right there in the hunt and Angler of the Year, fixing to head up north. But it is that wild card event, so it's interesting. But I have never, once they can only fish Texas now, because the Louisiana private water stuff, they took Louisiana out of play. I don't know. I feel like they fish the same areas a lot. You know, when Brock Mosley won there, you know, a lot of people fish release fish. They're fishing right there around Orange. That's what I've always heard. Like when opens are there, they're just fishing right where the fish are released, which is a smart play on a tough fishery. But it's just not, I don't know. It's just not that intriguing of a place to me. They go there. I see a lot of whining in comments. They go there because obviously the city of Orange pays them a lot of money to come there. What I don't get, I hope I don't offend anybody from Orange, Texas. I've been there. It's lovely. Crowd show up. That's awesome. But what I don't get, because I being on all sides of this that I am, these towns typically pay you to come there to promote the area. Who in the hell from anywhere else in the country is going to go to the Sabine River other than to go redfish? It looks like an amazing red fishery. But why do they spend that money? Why? It is perplexing. They got a big old budget, and they love having Bassmaster there. They set up live, son, right on site, and they have concerts and they do the deal. And I've been there, and it's a party. Orange, Texas is a party. It's just perplexing to me that they spend the money to promote the fishery that is the Sabine. And look, the Sabine is susceptible to flooding, hurricanes, salt intrusion. Those coastal river type fisheries are always going to be tough because they just change all the time. It's very tough to have consistent spawns. There's so many factors that play in why it's tough to catch over 8 pounds. but I believe this was the lowest winning weight in Elite Series history. If I'm right on that, and I'm not sure that I'm right. I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments if I'm not. But and again, intriguing. Probably would have looked a little less if you didn't go right after Fork, where it was just, an insane beatdown. That being said, the positives for me, I like seeing them have to work for it. And I think a lot of fans enjoyed this event. I like seeing them have to work for it. They're doing old school techniques, old school. I hate that, but I hate that terminology in this day and time. Spinnerbaiting, flipping, and a 2-pounder is gold. A 4-pounder is King Kong. So it is an interesting playing field. I just stay confused on why Orange spends the money they do. I do, because I dare freaking say they ain't a son of a gun that's ever watched the Sabine River tournament that lives in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, up here in beautiful southern middle Tennessee, and said, you know what, I'm finna hook up to the Express and go down to Orange and get me a dose of them freaking 1.5-pounders. I don't know. I just don't think so. When you see the St. Lawrence River, you're hooking up the boat. When you see Lake Fork, you're hooking up the boat. Okeechobee, all these places that when the elites, BPT, NPFL go there and they showcase the fishery, you're ready to get in the damn truck. Orange, Texas ain't that. The Sabine River ain't that. So, yeah, but I know why they put it in the schedule this year. I feel like other than getting paid to go there, and it is a good balance, man. It's a good balance. You got to have those shakeups, those wild cards, and it is certainly that. I was blown away at some of the veterans that had a tough one there too. You look down that standing sheet, and I was really, because normally those grinders grind in those and show up, and man, there were some names that I was shocked to not see in the mix at the Sabine, to say the very least. And before we move on, real quick, and I know this has been blown up all over the place for sure, on the camera deal. There was an angler that was denied a camera or wasn't, offered one or whatever because he has beef with Davey Height. Apparently something got out on live. And I had heard this weeks ago. I actually heard it when we were at NPFL at Norman, as a matter of fact, and was told this angler was pretty much threatened that this better stay hush-hush. Lots of things, allegedly. And then he's won there before, so he didn't get a camera. There were 2 other anglers that have won there before that didn't get a camera on day one. That's kind of been the standard protocol over the years. The other 2 anglers are fishing in PFL now, so that's interesting. They've both won in PFLs this year. So I'm not sure what's going on. Not sure what's going on there. There was also, and I talked about it on live last week, they were going to cancel the event, or they threw an email out there. They were going to reschedule, and the reschedule date was on top of an NPFL. And we're gonna get there where this becomes that at some point for sure, because there are guys trying to fish both. And this was the damn problem back in the day with FLW and Bassmaster when anglers tried to fish both. The anglers are the ones that end up losing because the organizations, and it always seems to be one more than the other, they don't work together. They don't work together at all. They don't work together on scheduling. They don't care. They're into individual businesses. They're not going to associate with each other. They're fighting for the same sponsor pool, and it's just a mess. And now with NPFL being, legitimate and garnering attention and garnering fan attention, garnering sponsor attention and angler attention, they're a competitor. I think that originally NPFL was looked at as, it's over there. It's just kind of over there doing its thing. And this year things have been really good. And I think that you'll see more of this, just kind of tension in the industry and that we've seen. So it is what it is, but not sure what's going on. I've said this, Bassmaster seems to be kind of a dumpster fire this year. It just does. It seems to be, from all things, like just outside looking in, there's a lot of things. My dear friend Mark Zona left, and it was just like they just lost their minds on a lot of things, it would appear, from the outside looking in, from a media standpoint. I'm just like, what? I see stuff all the time just pop up on social. I'm like, whoa, Oh, okay. That's the play there. Oh, okay. And then you hear these things like this. I don't know. There's lots of drama. And again, I said last week, MLF to me, BPT, if you're going head to head with those two, BPT's had some amazing tournaments, amazing finishes. And if they're having drama, they got a damn lid on it because you're not hearing it, dude. You're not hearing it. There's not been very, very little eke out of that organization if there's crap going on, whether it's somebody breaking the rules, shenanigans, whatever. It is radio silent. Radio silent. One other thing with bass. Rumor is they took a vote for 2026 on forward-facing sonar, and they're going to do the anglers want half the events with, half the events without. Supposedly, they'll definitely I think they'll have to make a change. I really do, because they've seen the positivity towards NPFL. They've seen the positivity towards Major League Fishing, because drum roll, they actually did something. They did something. They didn't just put a Band-Aid over it, essentially, when it comes to the fans. And I think they will. They will definitely do something. So want to say huge congrats before we move on past all this craziness. And in my rant, should have opened with this. Pat Schlapper, congrats on a win on a grimy fishery. Pat's been a dude who's been very close a couple times. And I had Pat on years ago. The year he went through the Open, might have been 2019, actually. It's been a while since I've had Pat on, and I'd like to get him back on. He's a funny dude, very charismatic guy, great fisherman. Pat's story, to me, I love seeing that blue trophy get hoisted by him, because I know what it means to him. I know the hours and hours and days and hell, years he's put in to the quest to be an Elite Series champion, to just be there and compete. And Pat, he used to work for a company called Shields, one of the best outdoor retailers in the country, by the way. If you've never been, that's a fun store to go visit. Primarily up north. But Pat worked for them. He saved and saved and saved. And when he went in the Opens, he quit. He pulled the plug on life and just lived out of his truck, pursued this deal, and he made it year one. He also won the Federation Championship down on Pickwick, qualified for the Classic. He's got multiple Classic qualifications now, made the Elite Series. But this dude, everything in his blueprint is focused on being a Bassmaster Elite Series pro. So to see him win, man, there's so much more behind those trophies a lot of times than just catching them for 4 days. And this is years and years and years culminating to this moment for him. And I dare say you won't find an Elite Series pro, a fellow pro that knows Pat, that's not very excited for Pat to have won this event on the Sabine River. So congrats to Pat. Love to get him back on to talk about that and just kind of get caught up on his life here sooner than later. But fantastic dude, and congrats, huge congrats on a slimy Sabine River win down there in Orange, Texas. He'll probably be back on the schedule next year, I'm sure. All right. Speaking of grimy events, we could be fixing to have one this week, and I'm here for it. Who knows? Fluctuating water levels and things. And what I'm talking about, the National Professional Fishing League, NPFL. I will be heading out here in a couple days. The tournament kicks off Thursday, the 22nd. We will be going live on the 23rd. Of course, no forward-facing sonar. It was banned by Brad Fuller and crew last September. They made that announcement. And this is our third event. We got Greg Hackney leading Angler of the Year. You've had Jason Christie win the first event. Greg Hackney won the second. Number 3 out of 6 events is up this week in the East Tennessee, up on Rocky Top by God Mountain, son. We are up in the Smokies this week, and a little home turf cooking, even though that's about 4 hours from my house. But I'm looking forward to spending some time up in East Tennessee, one of my favorite places. But Douglas is a weird one. That lake fluctuates a crazy amount in a year. 50 feet, I believe, at times it can be drawn down. You had the hurricane last fall, put a ton of debris in the lake from upstream. It was one of those places that was badly impacted by Hurricane Helene, I believe it was, and all the flooding. Now I'm hearing it's like 4 feet high this week. Will they get it down? Who knows? But no forward facing sonar. This is really, to me, we first two NPFLs, absolute shallow water, just, textbook, right? Between Santee, Cooper, and Norman. Now we're getting to the next two, this part of the schedule. We go here, and then we go to Lake Eufaula and Oklahoma in June. To me, this is kind of getting into that part of the schedule where we're going to see if guys remember how to side scan, maybe. We're going to see if they're good with that 360. We're going to see if there is a shallow bite that will play in May and June on these lakes. It should play in East Tennessee. There should be a shallow bite this week, I would think, up at Douglas at some point. But Douglas known for, if you remember the long lining tournament, the strolling tournament, I believe Jeremy Starks won back in the day on the elites. There's good ones in Douglas. They live very deep a lot of times. This time of year, this one's a wild card one. When the schedule came out, I was as intrigued by this one as any on the schedule because everybody's eyes go to Santee or the St. Lawrence River. But this one for me, I'm like, it's a little bit Sabine-ish in the fact that it is going to potentially be a shakeup in our point standings, and that's what you need at that kind of halfway point event. And Dandridge, Tennessee is always a great host. It's a beautiful area. A lot of fish. The lake was on kind of a downturn. It's in a little bit of it's climbing out of it from what I hear talking to locals, and we're going to see. But right now, we're going to be joined. I got to thinking in this crazy world of bass fishing. We haven't talked to this gentleman, and he's my boss. Let's start by saying that he is my boss, and he knows I have an immense amount of respect for him, but I've pushed him over the years. He'll tell you that. I've pushed him over the years. But we've not had him on. He made the announcement about forward-facing sonar around Labor Day weekend, and we did a live. And a ton of low-lifers, you guys were in the comments talking about him and or asking him questions and kind of going back and forth with Brad. And Brad is unapologetically himself, okay, all the time. And that's one of the things I respect about him the most. But I've not had him on, and he's not really, to my knowledge, done a lot of interviews to kind of talk about where we're at. And we're only 2 events in, even though we're in May. We're coming up on event 3. But I thought, man, headed into this next event, I would love to talk to Brad about where he kind of grades the NPFL as far as where they're at, his mindset, and how the year has gone so far. Because totally different setup this year when it comes to live scope and things like that. And I just thought it would be very, and a lot of other things that we'll get into. But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk to him right now. The NPFL President, Brad Fuller. All right, as promised, here he is, the boss man, the big boss man, as I like to call him, there at NPFL, the enforcer, as he's been known a couple times. Brad Fuller, buddy, I appreciate it. I said in the intro, I got to thinking late this week, and I know I texted you kind of last minute because life's been a little crazy, to say the least. But we made the announcement on LBL. You were gracious enough to do that about the forward-facing thing. You and I kind of did our deal back and forth about it on live in front of an audience. And then I got to thinking that, like, we've not talked about it again. And it's May. It feels like we're way into our season, even though we're only coming up on the 3rd event. But it feels like so many things have happened since that announcement. And so I thought, what better podcast this week, in my opinion. You got Douglas event number 3 coming up to kind of get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, of where we're at, how you feel, and just the season as a whole so far. Even though, again, we're only 2 events in, with the spacing out, though, this is kind of that midway point. So I appreciate you doing it.
No, man, it's all good. We're looking forward to having you and B get here in a couple of days. And yeah, man, it's weird. There is no off season. So, we're halfway through the year, coming up here in June, be the 1st of June here before we know it. And so one thing I've learned is while our schedule runs from, February, March, April through October, we don't take any days off. And honestly, these tournament months are a little slower because we're just focused on event to event. But also in the background, like, we're working on the 26th schedule. We're putting architecture out there, and we're looking at things, and now we have the production piece as well. So, man, it's a lot, and we just don't take any days off.
No,
Can't
no,
afford to.
you definitely don't. And I always talk about, I'm blessed, man, to get to do what I get to do in this industry, whether it's this podcast or working with you guys, working with Alabama Bass Trail. But I am so fortunate to get to watch people like you and Kay Donaldson and your teams. And it's really being a tournament fisherman to get to see behind that curtain has been one of the coolest things for me, and very eye opening at times. Whether that comes to scheduling or rule infractions or whatever the case is, whatever the drama is that the talking heads, myself included, run our mouths about on these videos on podcasts all the time, and it's really kind of, man, it's made me more empathetic, I think, at times to other organizations and what they have going on, just because just seeing some of the things you guys deal with a lot. There's always this unexpected curve. I think about not to dwell on this too much, but at Norman, we had a boating accident, and it was the same day as the horrific boating accident there on Smith Lake. And my God, man, we were in our feels about that, obviously. And it was before we had the news from Smith and our deal could have been a lot worse. And luckily nobody was seriously hurt. But in those moments, you're like, had you not been working for a tournament organization, you might have viewed that entire thing differently. You might have been somebody on the internet chiming in about the wreck at Smith or the wreck at Norman, but working and being there, you have a different, it just opens my eyes to, man.
And I think, man. And I think you being here, like before day one, you know what I mean? Like, and seeing the evolution of how we started conducting our business and kind of where we are now. We've grown as a company and as a bunch of leaders and managers. And we've evolved, and we don't do things the same now as we did back then. We have a core set of values that I am uncompromising on, but how you get there and how you adjudicate that and how you propagate that through how you build a culture at the NPFL, which is something I've done for a very long time. It's unique, man. And it's been a very, eye-opening experience for me as well, man. Before you follow in Alabama, year one, I never ran a bass tournament. I'd never been a tournament director, and man, I just think it shows that you got to have some vision. You got to have you got to have something to anchor you down to. And man, you've got the triple threat. I've got Michelle. And
Amen.
Man, all the people we've added to this program and this company it's where it's at. Like, that's the secret sauce. It's 100% the people in special operations. We had a couple core values. People are your most important asset. You know what I mean? And I feel that way here at the NPFL as well. Everybody has a purpose and everybody's invested. So yeah, man, it's been,
Gill Fishing wants you to be more comfortable out there on the water or in the woods, or maybe you're watching your kid's baseball game this time of year and you need to be protected from the sun, protected from the rain. They got you covered. All you got to do is use code LBL20 at checkout. You can save 20% on some of the best rain suits, shorts, shoes, sun shirts, gloves, hats in the outdoor game. GillFishing.com. ProGuyBatteries.com is where you can find some of the most amazing batteries on this earth for your bass boat, for your duck boat, for your bay boat, man, even for your lawnmower. You can find a little bit of everything. ProGuyBatteries.com. They also have their new line of chargers, but they have everything from lead acid to AGM to amazing lithium batteries like their new Alpha series that just dropped, that basically has the technology just to go, hey, man, you need to charge me. You need to charge me, like they talk to you. It's incredible. The Alpha series loaded with features. You can use code LBL10 at checkout at ProGuyBatteries.com to let them know you are a low lifer. Baitworks.com, Bait-WRX, the official online home of the LOB Power Finesse Jig. It stands for lots of bites. It's got the 3/0 Trocar hook, the finer than frog hair skirt material, and it catches bass. Available in some amazing colors, if I do say so myself. You can check them out for yourself by using the code Duncan-10, DUNKIN-10. That also saves you 10% on anything on the Baitworks website. I used it myself this week to order $9,000 worth of jackhammers. Bait-works.com. And last but not least, Old Boy Outfitters. in the outdoors, we like to wear our heart on our sleeve. So you might as well rep what you're about. And Old Boy allows you to do that. It is a great lifestyle brand, whether you hunt, whether you fish. They've even got their game day series of hats for all you collegiate sports fans out there. What's up, Old Boy? Use code Old Boy Luke, Old Boy Luke at checkout to save you some cash and let them know you're a low lifer. Hats, shirts. They got hooded sun shirts. They got shorts coming. They've got all sorts of things. Oldboyoutfitters.com.
It's been a wild ride. So
It has. I was actually at Eufaula this past weekend. I had a late night drive. Wes graduated on Friday night, and I already touched on this a little earlier in the episode, but I drove 5.5 hours after that to be there for, we kicked things off it's getting daylight early in Alabama right now. So blast off was, not long after 5. So I got me a couple hours sleep and then rolled into the day there for ABT South. But being at Eufaula, and it's just the legend and lore of Eufaula, obviously, in bass fishing history. But then for us, I always think back to that first event, like I stayed at Lake Point. I always think back to that. And I got to go there last year with ABT. And it's the first time I'd been back since our first event. And man, just the memories. But I still, like, standing there, I think about, and a lot has changed in the organization. And I feel like we're better now than we've ever been for a lot of different reasons. But that being said, I still think back to standing there with Dudley day one, and he's like, these dudes got something. Like, they got something. And it was this, and he said it, as this bass fishing veteran, he's like, man, this has got those old FLW vibes. And that was 5 years ago. And it's been a roller coaster, right? Like, I mean, there's been a lot that's happened. There's been a unique challenge or challenges every year for this organization. And this year, no different. I mean, it's just what's coming, what's coming at you next kind of deal. And that goes for any new business, I feel like, right? But talk about how you feel as far as 2025, your 2 events in, your core values obviously have not changed. A lot of new faces in the mix, a lot of new things, but kind of talk about 2025 so far as you see it, let's go back late 2024, even. You banned forward facing. You're like, hey, and you called me and said, hey, this is what we're doing. This is, we're going to make a decision. We're not going to go halfway. We're not, like, by God, you're either in or out, and we're out. This is what we're going to do. And this is the best decision for us. And I love that statement. You said best decision for us. And you're like, maybe the worst thing we ever did, maybe the best thing we ever did. Not sure. And I think that it has really helped you mix that with your core values. And I think 2025 has been awesome, but I will let you tell folks kind of how you feel about 2025 so far.
Yeah, I think not because I made the decision or we made the decision, I hope the people that watch your show and I've been on here enough and you and I've talked enough and we're buddies, and look, man, it was the right decision. Like, I think the signaling is clear, both from the anglers and the sponsors, that they like what we're doing. And I think they like how we did it. You know what I mean? And that speaks volumes to the staff and the decision-making process that we have in place and how we come to those decisions. I remember that conversation with you distinctly. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure you were absolutely 100%.
No.
On board.
No, I said it on here. I was not I am not a band guy. You know that. Now, where we're at now in the climate of bass fishing right now, let me say, I'm 1,000,000%. And of course, listen, if you said, hey man, we're only going to let them fish with Mickey Mouse poles, I'd be like, hell, let's see what happens. Like, I'm here for it. The freak show element of it. Let's go. But no, I was opposed, because bands are slippery slopes. We talked about this on the show. We talked about it privately too. Like, you and I talked, like, okay, all right, Brad, like, you're the boss. So, all right. And I do think that it was 1,000,000% the best decision that you guys could have made for your organization. I do. I really do. And I don't know that I could have said that had I not been as involved as I am, but being there and watching the anglers and feeling it at both tournaments. And I'm not talking about veteran. I'm talking about for all of them. It's not even a conversation. There's no pissing and moaning about it. It is just like, you have eliminated this hot button topic and we can just go bass fishing. And I do like that. I do like that.
So it's interesting, man. And I'm not sure anybody wants to hear this, especially the fans at home, but dude, we walk through like today and tomorrow, like we're here at Douglas, right? The twins are here,
Yeah.
Mike's here. And man, we have more questions than answers going into this event with everything from production to staffing. Like I've got 3 key staffers, their kids are graduating, they're not going to be here. So I've got to deal with filling those voids and making sure that people we put in those places are ready to execute the mission and go out and get the job done. And we will be. But we're not afraid of those questions. And when you look at the overarching kind of whole thing of it is, man, if we're just going bass fishing, and for me, it really hit home for me, Luke, being in the studio with you guys and working closely with everybody, but also getting to see how Greg Hackney looked on day 3 and the way he carried himself, and not just on live, but in private. That look in their eye, and we didn't get to see Chrissy because the way the camera shook out, but I'm sure it was the same for Jason, is, man, and the guys chasing him, they felt like they had a chance. You know what I mean? And dude, just that core kind of back to grassroots, instinctual, the way they were in tune with what was going on in the water from Seth, Ellis, and Hackney, and all the guys that are on live on that last day. I'm biased, but it just felt like it had a feel to it that we haven't got the feel in bass fishing in a long time. That's what we were. That's what I was chasing. That I can't describe it. But I was like, that's it. When you feel it, you're like, oh man, like we got it. But then you're like, okay, I'm here. I have a unique perspective from the fans at home. Is it translating through the live to the fans at home? And dude, based on the comments we were getting on YouTube and on the chat on the website, like it did. You know what I mean? So those things are, man, like we chase those feels, right? Like we want to, when you can pull the fans in and get them to feel what you're feeling and what you're seeing, that's the kind of the pinnacle for us. And I felt like, man, you guys did a great job. The production thing is a whole nother topic. I'm sure we're going to touch on that, but
yeah, for sure.
Man, to your question of where are we now, man, I'm both more excited today after 5 years of what we're doing in the NPFL than ever. And I'm also more anxious about what we're doing in the NPFL than ever. Because look, man, you and I talked about it. When you're the new guy, when no one gives you a chance, like, man, these guys won't make it 6 months. And dude, we almost didn't. Like, I mean, we've been very open about this. Like there is ample opportunities for us to shut the doors and walk away. And I tell people, man, we're just too dumb to quit. You know what I mean? Like that's a reality. But the reason I'm anxious is now there's expectations. Now there's people who expect us to do what we do. And that comes with a bit of weight on your shoulders to go out and do the best by every angler in the field, to do the best by the progressives and the strike teams and the Lewis and the pro guides and epic baits, everyone who puts trust in us to carry the candle for the torch for their brands. We owe them something. And so, dude, you've seen it. I'm so glad you and Fat Cat are on site with us. It's changed the whole dynamic of what I feel like we do. But now you guys get to really see how hard checking all the boxes are. It's easy to check the big ones, right? But making sure that every angler, when they leave this event, whether they catch them at Douglas or not, that they felt like they had an experience that was worthy of the money they put into it. I can't catch them for them, but I can make sure that, hey, man, this is what your $5,000 gets you, right? And I think we do a good job of that. Like I'm proud to say that I feel like we do a good job of that. And man, it's a cool feeling to feel like it's happening after 5 years. We're not there yet. And dude, I don't know if we'll ever be like where we, you know what I mean? Like we content, but not happy, but not content kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And dude, as the landscape rapidly changes in this sport every day, from sponsors to anglers and all those things, I keep going back to, hey man, we're just bass fishing. You know what I mean? Let's not forget that It's about the green fish, the brown fish, and the people that are out there chasing them.
Right.
And we need to stay out of the way so the fans can enjoy what we get to see on a day-to-day basis. You ain't going to see halftime shows. You're not going to see dancing girls. You're not going to see cheerleaders. You're not going to see, like, if you want that stuff, there's places to go watch it.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to.
Yeah, there's places to go watch it for sure.
Yeah, we're not going to be throwing spinner baits at someone's face. Like, we're not doing that. We are 100% here to bass fish. And if you're down with it, come on. And if you're not, then there's the best thing we've done, man, if we've created variety in the sport. We've created an environment where you as the fan get to do what you want to do. If you want to watch guys fish with forward facing, there's 2 organizations, 1.5 that have that. But I think if you want that instinctual connection with nature, and, you know, not to get all like be in your nature's end, but you know what I mean? Like, dude, it's a tangible thing that a real tournament fisherman or someone who's just out there dobbing around with a bobber, like there's a feeling you get when you're out there doing that, chasing deer, chasing turtle, whatever it is. Like, that feeling is what we're chasing. And I think I'm very, very proud that I feel like our company in the NPFL is thrown down a big giant stake in the ground and said, we're going to hang on to this. Like, we are going to hang on to it. If you're with us, great. If not, man, we wish you all the best. We hope everybody succeeds and prospers. But this is who we are, and this is what we are, and I'm unapologetic about that.
And I love that about you. You know, and the organization as a whole. It is what it is, right? Like, this is what it is. Throwing it out there and see what happens. How do you? Because obviously this was a big thing for the industry to take a stand, because nobody took a stand, essentially. Now, I have on the show, and will continue to applaud MLF. They did things too, right? They their format with BPT sets up perfectly to try something different. So they said, hey, we're going to let them, as Drew Gill calls it, the turbo round. We're going to let them use it for 2.5 hours. And we've seen how good these boys are in 2.5 hours. Holy hell. It's terrifying. It's like, oh, he caught 40 something bass in 2.5 hours with it. Bassmaster really didn't do anything, you know, the screen size thing, but you guys took that stand. You did take a stand. How will you, because it's inevitable. I want to say this publicly. There will be more changes in this industry next year based on the decision you guys made. You know it, and I know it, because like you said, oh, those guys are cute. They won't be around 6 months. And then 5 years later, through challenges, here you are, and getting the best numbers that you've seen on live, seeing your name in comments, NPFL and or other organizations. I'm a glutton for reading the dumb mom's basement comments, and I do see NPFL mention, though. You're in the conversation. I see it in my comments this year. Hey, I've never watched you guys before. I'm a fan of what you do, but I'll just be honest, I've never watched NPFL, and I'm watching this year. I've seen a lot of that this year. But how do you continue to separate yourself? You know, take the forward-facing sonar thing out. How do you continue to separate yourself from the other organizations, because they inevitably will make the same changes? I think maybe not ban, but there's a lot of changes coming. You know it, and I know it. How do you continue to push the envelope as the NPFL?
Well, dude, that might be the easiest question you've ever asked me, and because it may make sense when I give you my answer. You know, Michelle told me something like, when I took over as president after year 2. It was hard, man, because I was having trouble adjusting to being in a leadership role where we're not in a combat environment. To be honest with you, like, hey, man, this isn't, you know, no, there's no bullets. You know what I mean? It was different. And I did have a rough time adjusting on how to lead and out of that environment. But she said, hey, this is real simple. Like, you just need to be yourself. And if you isn't good enough, then we need to find something else to do. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, to be honest, Luke, I don't know. Like, I can't say we're going to do this, 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 and this. But what I can tell you is we're going to be true to who we are. And what's the secret sauce here at the MP? You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, how in the world does all this happen? Dude, it's real simple. When it comes to the anglers, and this league does not exist without the anglers. No league exists without the anglers. That's reality. and I've had industry people push back on this, you know, in some corporate meetings and stuff like that. They are our most important asset. So, and they're also our greatest asset when it comes to marketing and branding, because, just because I'm so enamored with what Paul Bork, Ken Eubanks, Strike King, and Lose, the piece they did for Kings of Bass with Greg Hackney at the NPFL event on Santee Cooper.
Yeah.
Dude, we had nothing. We gave them some footage. Like we worked with them, but that was all Rita and all those guys that put that together for Paul and Ken over at Strike King and Lose at Rather Outdoors. Dude, there's nothing better than Greg Hackney standing there saying, hey man, I thought I wanted to do this, but after being here, I want to do this. When you create an environment where the anglers are beating your door down to get in there and they want to be a part of it. Okay, some of them think they want to be a part of it, right? Like,
yeah.
But when you create an environment where there's a demand for your product, dude, this is just good old fashioned capitalism. How do I create a product that has high demand with a finite amount of space? Because as you drive that demand up, and dude, the thing that I believe, the gateway to sponsors, not just endemic, but the gateway to all sponsors is by having a really content and happy field for the most part. I don't care whether you're a BPT guy, whether you fish the elites, whether you only fish with the NPFL. Every man and woman that's fishing the NPFL should walk away from this thing feeling like they just had a special week. And we work really hard, Luke, and go out of our way to make sure we hang on to that feeling, because that feeling is what's going to turn into dollars. And we'll see if it works, man. I could, dude. You could bring me on here when we shut this thing down and it all collapses and falls down, and we talk about the good old days. And be like, well, you were wrong, and I'd say, yeah, man, I was wrong. But at the end of the day, that feeling and the relationship we have with our field is the most important thing. It's one of the most important things.
And I was hoping you would say that, because that's the feeling I get just being there, being a fly on the wall. You know, yes, I'm a part of the team. Yes, I've been a part since really, you know, not day one, not when you guys came up with it, but late 2020. You know, I've been there, and that's what I was hoping you'd say. Take all the, you know, the rule, whatever the rules are, the way anglers are treated, dude. The drive-through weigh-in, you got, you know, man, you putting your boat in, you got somebody helping you. Like, as a tournament angler, all the things I see standing there, just like looking around at takeoff or looking around at the weigh-in, those kind of things are what separates the NPFL. You know, and the fans never see that for the most part. Even if they're at weigh-in, they're probably not even paying attention to the president is driving Greg Hackney's truck through the damn weigh-in and then yelling at Greg to move his damn truck. You know what I mean? Like, get your crap, Greg, get out of here. Those are the things that I think do separate it. It's done on a, you know, logistically, a very small crew. We've got a very small crew, whether that's production, whether that's the tournament staff. It is a very small crew, comparatively speaking, to every other trail that I've been around, whether that's a weekend trail or a national trail. So I think as long as the NPFL is able to keep that feel, I don't care if you decide to let them use 9 forward-facing sonar transducers next year. I think as long as that's the case, it will always be able to stand out a little bit and just not lose sight of who we are. And I don't think we have in the least. I will say, you know, we've seen criticisms, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, because in the beginning it was, it's a professional trail. The National Professional, I'd like to say that again, professional was in the name from the beginning. There has been a little bit of scrutiny, you know, going back to like when Patrick first got involved, you know, and Patrick's one of the greatest anglers to ever do it. He will go down as that. We all know that. It's not, it does not depend on, he does not discriminate. It does not depend on the tournament trail. He's going to be in the mix. He's top 10 Bassmaster Angler of the Year right now. Hell, I think he's like 6th. Just about won the freaking Sabine yesterday. I'm sure he's en route to Dandridge as we speak.
He's here.
He's already there. So
he's on the water right now.
Big T drove him, I'm guessing. His shout out to Pat's dad. But starting that year, we started seeing, you're always going to get the comments. Well, I thought this was for the working man, or I thought this was for this, or I thought this was for that. And then you fast forward to 25, and our first 2 tournaments are won by, I'll just say it, legends of the sport. And we have other legends, whether it's a Tommy Biffle, you have David Fritz, you have so many legends in the mix in the NPFL now. What do you say to people that criticize that?
Well, I think it's like, look, man, it's we're literally doing what we feel is best for our business, and we've never filled a field. Our target number this year was 130. Didn't get there. You know what I mean? So why in the world would I turn away those guys, professionals, legends, guys who carry a very large sphere of influence? Like you've heard me and Mike stand around and talk, Como, like good for my business, bad for my business. Which one am I going to pick? You know what I mean? And look, man, at the end of the day, this is going to sound horrible. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like until and you know that, and I'm being a little bit satirical, but when the reality is, man, we're just bass fishing. You know what I mean? So we had that tag as the working man's league. It was put out on an early presser, whatever.
Like 2019, though. Let's talk
right.
Like 2019 before, because that was my joke. You remember, we've joked about it a bunch. Is I said, these guys have a tournament trail. So do I. Because it was just a press release. It was like NPFL, we're going to be here. And then in 2 years, you know what I mean? It was like this. There was no details. There was no anything. So for people to judge in 25 based on 19, God, I hope people don't judge me in 25 based on 19. I said a lot of shit in 2019 about a lot of people.
We did.
We did. But for that to be a comment kind of drives me crazy.
Hey, buddy, think, and you and I, we talk a lot about this. Yeah. Mom's basement dwellers are some of my favorite human beings on the earth, right? Like I love, like, especially when you get them, but when you get them by the throat and you pass like the muscle and you really get into where their larynx is, when you feel that little pop, you know that you're got their attention. So, but with that being said, hey man, think about this. And Michelle does such a good job, man, of keeping me like just steady. And I could not do this without her. She's like, listen, if that's what they're bitching about, you're doing pretty good.
No doubt.
If that's all you got. Like if that, and dude, I'm all about taking people's hate away. I do it with anglers all the time. Perfect example, right? You know, the journalists in this sport, you know, like, well, you know, what they set you up for those.
Sorry.
You know,
oh my God.
They've got something they want to drive home, and they're trying to bait you into saying something. When I can take that away from them, here's the deal, man. You know what the number one problem at the NPFL right now is? The number one problem is our payouts.
Fat cat. Oh,
well,
fat
you know
cat.
what I mean? Like
that's my number one problem, but you can continue.
Yeah, I acknowledge wholeheartedly, and I talk to the anglers about it. Like, hey, man, if I could have the best payouts in fishing right now, we'd be real dangerous, right? Like we'd be a problem.
What about that? You would be FLW circa like 2002.
And if guys don't think that I'm motivated to carry that across the stage, like, dude, when I talk to the sponsors, I'm like, hey, man, we're looking for partners, and here's what I want, and here's how I want to do it. I promise you I'll never compromise who we are, what we're about. If you want your brand associated with mine, let's go do this together, because I can't do it without you. We can't angler entry fee our way to prosperity. And
to longevity, essentially. Yeah.
100%. And we have to have really good partners. And we have to be very nurturing with those relationships. We've been working on some of this stuff for 5 years. You know what I mean? And I'm very, we say this every time I'm on this podcast, and every time we're talking about next year is such an important year for the NPFL, because it's really like, it's starting to take shape. It's starting to get some legs. It's starting to have some foundation to it. People now, when you say NPFL, they know what we're about. You know, Ken rode me like a horse, dude, to write those articles for the website. And I pushed back forever because I didn't want to expose myself in the league to my thoughts, like, for the public. You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
But it's been important because it gives people an insight into how we feel. Like, dude, this life and all this stuff is just about how we feel, right? And that leads to perception, and then that leads to action, and knowing and seeing and getting to sit down in the room with people and just talk to them. Like, maybe it's not about fishing, right? Maybe it's about my life or what we do, or, you know what I mean? Like, whatever that is, we're very proud of the relationships we have. And dude, I think it's going to, when we look back in this, Luke, the relationships we forge with these companies and how we do it and what we say to them, we don't have to, I don't think we've really changed a lot from day one. And I can comfortably say that if you're enamored or interested in what we're doing, you don't have to worry about us changing our trajectory next week. You know what I mean? Like we've been ourselves through this whole thing. We've been very true to who we are. And I think that gives people some comfort. You either like it or you don't. And I'm okay if you don't like it. I don't think you're like, man, the NPFL is not for me, blah, blah, blah. That's the beautiful thing about this. Like, I think, and when you look at the overarching industry, I think this was a good move for our sport. I think it brought more people in that maybe had left, right? I think those people didn't have anywhere to go. I agree with you. I think what MLF did was, like, dude, I've watched more of that this year than ever because I think it's been interesting. Like I'm still a bass fishing fan. Like, I still enjoy the just bassing, right? And just bass fishing. And at our core, that's what this company is. And it's funny, man, until Greg said that on that video, it never really dawned on me, like, man, we're just bass fishing. We talk about bass fishing, we work around bass fishing, and we love bass fishing. And I think a lot of people relate to that. And it's easy because we're not faking it. Like, it's who we are.
No, I agree. And I would say, for the folks that are new, tuning in this year or keep it up at all, personally, having been involved, I can say, and I'm not a journalist, Brad. I'm not a journalist.
That's an inside joke. That's an inside joke of me and Ken Duke. When he sees this,
journalists, there's so many journalists and bass fishing now. So many, and by journalists, I mean people making TikToks. But it has not changed. Fundamentally, core value right now, 2025, I don't care if Bill Dance is fishing. It is the same as it was when we kicked things off at Eufaula. Now, are we better at things organizationally? You guys on the running the tournament side, and listen, Eufaula was smooth. I mean, going back to that year again, I remember Dudley being so motivated to speak to the anglers because he had heard some bitching at Pickwick that year and wanted to, hey, Brad, can I talk in the angler meeting? And he was motivated to go, hey, you don't know how good you got it because I fished everything. And this is awesome. What these guys are doing is awesome. Support them. Don't bitch. Don't bicker behind the scenes. You don't know what you've got, right? And I remember that, and it was awesome to hear that from a veteran like Dudley. And I think we still have that. We still have that feel. And then this year, though, it's been cool because so many dear friends of mine that haven't been involved with us, whether that's a Justin Atkins or a Gerald Swindle or a Hackney that I've known forever, Hank Cherry, Shane LaHue, so many guys that have joined us this year that I've known from other things, other trails. It's made me like a proud family member to watch them like beam about. They're like, dude, this is awesome. Like Gerald and Leanne calling me the Monday after Santee, and they're like, okay, we get it. We get it. We thought we got it just from talking to Brad, but now we get it, man. This is awesome. So that made me that much more proud to be involved. And, I think that as long as we can maintain, and I say we organizationally, that same feel for years, I think you're going to be just fine. Getting a lot of questions in life right now. I am, and I bug you with them all the time. But you talked about, hey man, there are other people they want to get in. There's only so many spots, and we didn't sell out this year. But that being said, man, walking around the Classic this year was kind of crazy. I had people coming out of the woodwork. Hey man, who do I get a hold of? How does this happen? And more so than ever, And last year kind of started that even before the forward facing thing. But now we're hearing that more and more and more. How does an angler, because this is a number one question about NPFL, what do y'all do? You pull them out of a hat? How do you decide? Because there's no feeder system yet, no feeder system of any kind. How does someone for 2026, how do they approach getting in the NPFL? Whether they're sitting at home watching this right now and they don't fish anything, if they fish BPT, if they fish the invitationals, whatever the case is, how does one try to get their name on a list for 2026?
So there's a couple. I'm glad you asked this question. There's a couple things I want to address. Over the years, we've developed a process of how we open the application process, and people have to, we have to be able to manage it with a very small team, right? So our process works for us. And I'm going to say some things here, man, that I promise you are just going to piss some people off. And
let's go.
And look, man, it's okay. That's not my intent, but whether you're a local regional angler who's very successful, BFL, Toyotas, whatever, or you're a very well-known name that people would recognize, the process is exactly the same. And this is not us saying you got to kiss the ring. You know what I mean? Oh, well, I know who you are. Every sponsor, every bass fishing fan in the world knows who you are. I need you to go fill out this application. Dude, it starts the process. When that it's all computerized and databases, once we get you in there, that feeds the rest of the thing. And I'll be honest, man, if you're too good to go fill out a 5-minute application, you're probably not going to work out here at the NPFL.
Yeah, leave your ego at home. Leave your divaness. Yeah.
Dude, we're going to run the same process. So I've been approached 3 times. I've been here since Saturday. Got here Saturday afternoon. We're recording this Monday morning, I think. Is it Monday?
Yes, I think it's Monday.
Okay. So three different guys that come to me and said, "Hey, man, there's a rumor out there that you've got a secret list and you're taking deposits for 2026 from guys." And I was like, "Buddy, if somebody's telling you that, then there's some fraud going on." Because, dude, I'm worried about the 118 guys we have in the NPFL. I'm at stop 3. I'm laser focused on what we're doing right now. Now, I have times in my day and my week where I look vision time, right? Hey, man, where are we going? What are we doing? And you got to make sure that what you're doing now builds to whatever it is then. So as far as that goes, I've not taken a single dime for anything in 2026. I do not have a secret pocket list, and anyone who knows me laughs at that, right? And I've had guys call and go, "Hey, man, I'll pay my full 2026 entry fee right now." I'm not doing that. I'm not holding $31,200 for we're not doing it. So that does not exist. And the way I've talked to guys is, "Hey, man, we're going to look at everyone who applies. We're going to set a field size based on the number of sponsorship dollars we get. I would like to have a smaller field. I'd like to be at about a 110 field. Everything we go above that is strictly tied to a profit loss line on a revenue chart. It's just, hey, this is the number we need to be at to be profitable."
Yeah.
So I guess the way I'm answering that is there is no secret list. I'm not taking deposits on 26. We're going to run the same process we run every year. And in that process, we look at all the applicants. We figure out who is the best fit for the NPFL. And I have a conversation. I had it with G and Lulu. I had it with Hank Cherry. I had it with Brandon Cobb. I had it with every single Derek Snavely, Derek Loden, Russ Simpson. Every angler has a one-on-one personal conversation with me. And that's how we pick the anglers. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know how you feel. I want to know how you handle adversity. And every one of those conversations are tailored to the person I'm talking to. And dude, we continue that relationship. That's the very first thing we do to establish rapport between the company and that angler. That's a very, very important phone call. Dude, Michelle gets so mad at me because I will spend 2 hours on the phone with the guy that I know isn't coming, but I've got some things I want him to understand, right? And whether he comes or not, I want him to understand who we are, what we're about, what we will do, what we won't do. And that's where we start the expectations. I levy expectations on him. and I want him to know what he can expect from the NPFL.
And
Go ahead.
Cut you off. I want to say this because earlier in the interview you said, you're not going to turn those guys away, the Hank Cherries and the, you know what I mean, when you don't have a full field. But I also want to throw in there, being behind the scenes, and you may slap me for saying this, there were a lot more. We could have had a full field. Let's just put it this way. You could have a full field. We could have had a full field essentially every year as far as applications go. And what he's talking about is you do weed some guys out that, I mean, Brad may have done folks a favor. Right. You know what I mean? It's not just this, hey, I want to swipe your credit card. Hey, buddy, you want to be a pro fisherman? Let me swipe your credit card, because there's in this process that you do go through, which is strenuous. You talk to a guy and you're like, hey, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do this. And
there's at least one or two guys every year that I'm like, look, buddy, you don't want this smoke right now. Like, hey, I've got a baby due in 6 months. I'm starting a new job. My wife, family has a sick parent. You know what I mean? Like we have those personal conversations because it all goes into what we're doing. And I'm like, look, man, I'm not going to send you an invite. And dude, I can't say every single one of them. Most of those guys come back and go, hey man, thank you.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, I tell guys, one of the catchphrases I use is, don't let a dream become a nightmare. Don't take something you dreamed of doing your entire life, turn into a nightmare. Because, buddy, there's been plenty of nightmares here at the NPFL with regards to guys not being able to finish financially, not being able to secure the backing, starting something they couldn't finish. And it gets ugly, man. Like it's ugly for us. It's ugly for them. And, so that's really why we go through all those things up front. And we miss some, dude. And maybe there's some guys that I should have let in that I didn't, but I sleep pretty good at night. You know what I mean? Like knowing that we did the right thing. And there's two really hard things we do: bring anglers in and do schedule. And I don't want to be like this gatekeeper. You got to be good enough. I mean, there needs to be some of that for sure. But I've always been very proud of the fact that, we have one. Jason Abram was supposed to be on the round table last night. He had a mechanical issue. Russ Simpson. There's a lot of guys who've been successful. Like look at the AOY points. There's guys in there mixed in with the Christies and all. Like, you don't know who they are. Dude, they're really good anglers and they're really good people. And I'm proud. I always want to keep no matter what happens, Luke, I've kind of made myself promise that I want to give guys opportunities. And as long as we run the program the way we do now, I get to make that choice. Like, hey man, I'm going to give you a shot. Like I'm going to invite you in. I'm going to see what you can do. And then it's on you. You got to go perform. But I always want to have that air of a league of opportunity. Like, you think you got it? Let's go find out. Right. So that does play a factor in it.
So moving, down the road, way down the road. And I know we're early in 25, and we've had conversations about this a little bit at times, but I see this question get asked a lot on social media, a good bit. And I've had it asked personally. When you look ahead, do you see this being a league that is always Brad kind of having to sort through an interview, or would you, in a perfect world, would you have a BFL style weekend deal that led you to another level, that led you to the top of the food? Like, is that I guess I'm at, and people at home probably like, oh, you don't know this answer. Like, I really don't. Like your vision, Mike Como, Michelle, Kathy, like when you guys sit around as ownership, the 10-year plan, is that you want all the layers to the onion, or are you just content with the layer we're at right now? You know what I mean? Like, what's for folks listening, what's that look like in your head?
So there's two. I'm going to answer your question eventually, and I'll try not to be too long-winded, but it's a very complex issue. The reality is I like the way it is now. However, I do understand that there are certain benefits sponsor-wise, production-wise. Like, there's other entities other than how I feel about it that may drive us to more traditional feeder system. Here's my one thing that I've said I will not do. I will not establish a feeder system that is simply there to prop up the higher level. And the reason I want, everything we do after this, Luke, has to live up to what we are now. Right? So I'm not willing to start something new and it be not as good as what we're doing here and doesn't have the same feel. That's actually much more challenging to do at a lower level. So the plan, dude, I've got a vision board and a notebook that thick of ideas and thoughts and what we do. So I think a lower level trail is absolutely in our future. Where we start that at, which demographic of anglers we go after is a business decision. And we're doing like ongoing analysis of, okay, if we enter the lower teal non-professional environment, where is the most lucrative place for us to do that? And here's what those guys who are going to come fish with, when I say lucrative, not just for us, but for the anglers.
Right.
Like, hey, it's not, hey, how can I go make an extra 500,000 to put in the NPFL payouts? Like, right. I want that lower teal I want the NPFL where it is now to stand on its own at the top tier with the best sponsors and have payouts be really, really good. And then if we start something below this, I want it to be really, really good, stand on its own, have really good, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to build one to take money out of that to put into a higher level to make it sexier. Yeah. Right. And as far as whether we call it a feeder or just a sub trail of the NPFL, bro, they're all going to have the shield on it in some way, shape, or form or fashion. And that shield is becoming more and more emotionally connected to the NPFL and what it means to me than it has in the past. I think with taking on the production and what we've taken on and the path we've chosen, that shield means something to me. And if I'm going to put it on a product, you're damn well straight it's going to be the right product at the right time for the right reason, and it's going to be good. And I just feel like there's so many more challenges that come along with a weekend series where you try to get the look and feel because you have less control over your, like, it's just, hey, anybody wants to come and fish, and there's people out there that are just, they're just pieces of shit. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Just because doesn't mean they're not pieces of garbage at times.
I'm concerned about my ability to deal with that. To be honest with you, like I'm just, and so you go, well, maybe I shouldn't be dealing with. You know what I mean? Like it comes down to how we're going to structure something that operates within the confines of what we're doing at the NPFL that's worthy of the shield, and how we do it. I literally, man, I think I got about 8 different models that we've explored, and we do this on the regular. Like, okay, man, let's look at this again. And then you look at, hey man, like, what do you have to invest to be able to get that off the ground? Like, it's not something you just pop up. So yeah, man, and everything from a team series to a shared weight co-angler series where you have to invest, like the thought process there. So each one of these different like columns of ideas has a list underneath of it. How do you incentivize a boater to educate, grow a co-angler in the back, not just boat them all day, right? Even without forward-facing sonar, like, well, the way you do that is you make it mutually beneficial for both of them to do well. And you know what I mean? Like, is there something there where it's a better union between co and pro, or boat or non-boater, where that's a more symbiotic, mutually beneficial relationship that has a culture or feel to it that maintains what we have at the NPFL. And so then you scrap that, you go, yeah, I hate that idea today. And you start looking at this idea, but you go, okay, a more traditional co-angler pro day where maybe co-anglers fish 2 days and then don't fish on the 3rd day or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's I do have a desire to bring the co-angler back to bass fishing. Dude, you've done it at a high level. I've done it. Sean does it. Paul does it. You know, Mike, our production guy, fished professionally for 13 years when they had co-anglers in the top 100s in the Redman Golden Series. You know what I mean? The Golden Blend Series. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a market business for that co-angler entity to be out there. And, you know, so I've answered your question without answering it, which is a great, yeah, running for office, running for Congress next month. So, dude, so hopefully the fans were able to get out of that. This is what we're looking at. I don't know the answer to whether it'll be a true feeder system or not. I think time will tell. I do like being able to pick who I do business with at this level. Like, there's a lot of value there for us. I don't know. We're gonna look. We're gonna continue to do what we do, and we are going to continue to nurture what we have here at the NPFL, grow to get to a revenue spot where it's good, because it's not. To be honest with you, it's like it's funny. Mike Como and I and a couple of anglers were standing around this morning, and somebody brought up the word business. And Mike Como said, "Look, man, I've run big multi-million-dollar businesses. This is a really shitty business right now." But you have to have that to get to prosperity. If you're not willing to endure this, like I asked the guys, you've been on the meetings. Hey guys, are we willing to endure? Are we willing to walk through the cesspool of bass fishing to get to the land of prosperity? If we're not willing to do that, we should hang it up right now. And you know that I'm a big culture guy, Luke, and a big how it feels guy. There's something to be said when you earn it. Nobody handed us anything. Like, when you earn it, like, it means something different. And I really feel like us earning it from the fans, from the industry, endemics and non-endemics, earning it is it's that intangible. Bro, no one here's a trust fund baby. Like, no one here walked in here like, and it's been an absolute dogfight. And dude, I love it. Like, dude,
there's a simplicity in life to being handed things, I guess, but I've never experienced that. You know, I'm just always, like you said, I feel like I'm always in a dogfight, and probably always will be in a dogfight in life, for one reason or another. I feel like, for sure. And there is a beauty in, I mean, you and I talked the other day, I mean, just where we're at now. And it's like you said, you're happy, but you're not content, and you never will be. And that's not the kind of person you are, and that's not the kind of organization we are. It's not the kind of person I am, you know. And you can take some joy in what's happening in 2025, but you also know we just getting started, man. Like, the work's just beginning now. It's been 5 years of, well, are we going to fish next year? You know what I mean? Like, there's been so many things in 5 years. So it's almost, you're also, I think, cautiously optimistic is a good way to kind of describe the entire situation. Cause it's like, all right, is this happening? Is it happening? Or are we off to the races here?
Well, I think, dude, when you earn it, and I hesitate a little bit to put it that way, but you see that dude running around behind me,
like a chicken with his head cut off. I see him.
Yeah, like when you publicly fight for what you get, you attract people who are in that same mindset. And Mike is exactly like us, right?
Sure.
Like what we've taken on here at the NPFL with this production through Mike. I knew we linked up through mutual friends and met, in a parking lot halfway between our houses. And I knew in the first 10 minutes that I got to get this guy. And he walked away going, I got to go work for those guys. You know what I mean? Like, so when it's like moss to a flame, you know what I mean? Like, when you're drawn to something, you're emotionally invested, and the way you work and what you do, it translates. And I think the fans get a sense of that. And dude, we're showing a lot of grace. Like, we catch a lot of crap, but look, man, I'm okay with that. Even the haters were still there commenting, whatever. The progress from event 1 to event 2, I have an expectation that this event will have yet another level up. I thought about doing this segment where we bring a run of the mill fan in and let them peek behind, like, hey man, you're with me for a day.
Yeah, no, don't do that. They'll walk into traffic.
and hey man, just like, seen, not heard, right? Like, just come and have it, to give a outside appreciation. But here's the deal, man. The beauty of it is they get to enjoy the sport of bass fishing through our eyes and our lens, and they don't have to deal with all that. That's our job.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So we should be insulators, but with the production thing, man, it's just been I knew what we were getting ourselves into. I have enough experience with some of the stuff we're using to know what we were getting ourselves into. I was really disappointed after Santee. So, man, I spent enough time on Santee. We built our system for. There's a reason we went to Santee with this first. Like, let's go throw this thing into the furnace and make sure it's going to work for the rest of the year. And we had a lot of issues, man. And I was more disappointed because we prepared for it and we just missed a couple things. And dude, we worked day and night between then and Lake Norman, and we still had some things at Norman that people don't know about, like the audio issues we had in studio with you and Fat Cat. Like, and dude, what the crazy thing was, before we left, before the weigh-in was over, we shut down the live stream. Mike sent me a text, says, "I got it fixed." You know what I mean? So I'm very optimistic about what the fans are going to get to see. And Mike and I talked about this morning. We went down to the ramp and met a bunch of the anglers. And, bro, I think we're operating at like 30% capacity. Like, we've got 70% of growth in front of us with dude, this thing is the machine we built is, some of the things we've talked about it can do. When I talk about changing the landscape of how the sport is consumed, dude, we're introducing new things for the first time ever, Luke, to our partners at Fishing Chaos. And John and all those guys that bust their butt at Fishing Chaos to be good partners with us, we're going to know where every single angler is every minute of the tournament. And we've never had that. So the production value there goes up where I can shoot and move and scoot without a 17-hour text string and dropping points on a map. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really excited to see how that changes the production and what we're able to do with it. And people go, "Well, you should have had that all the time." Yeah, no shit. I get it. But it's not as easy. And dude, we've tried 3 or 4 different programs. We've tried 3 or 4 different vendors. We've tried different things. It's either cost prohibitive, or it just didn't work the way it was supposed to. And I can tell you, like, we tested it today. I don't know if when we get done, it's the real deal, man. Like, I'm talking like 6-foot accuracy on every dude on the lake. Like,
That's crazy.
It's really, really good. So the sky is the limit. We're operating. We got a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to improve. And I'm taking a lot of pride in the conversations I'm having with sponsors, because they're like, "Look, man, I don't give a shit how many people are watching. I want to be part of what you're building." Bro, when they start saying stuff like that, they do care how many people are watching. They do care what it looks like. But it's more about the brand association. I want to tie my brand and hitch it to your trailer, and let's go get this thing. And the beautiful thing is, Luke, I get to do business with people like Paul Bork, with Pate Schumacher, Brian from Epic Baits. They're our people. If I get to choose my sponsors like I choose my anglers, Jeff Colo from Johnson Outdoors, the whole staff at Minn Kota and Johnson,
Yamaha, yeah, like the
dude, Look,
just
our little buddy Ben, that we now work for. You know what I mean? Like,
which is weird. Let's just say that's weird. Ben goes from camera guy to the man at Yamaha. Shout out, Ben.
Well, dude, and I'm excited for Ben, man, and I'm excited for Yamaha, and I'm excited for us. And if I get to choose my sponsors like I choose my anglers, like, me and Paul Bork were long lost brothers. You know what I mean? Like, we think the same, we speak the same. He gets me, he understands who I am and what I'm about, and he likes it. You know what I mean? He's like, "Hey, man, this is what we need, and this is what we're excited about." Ken Eubanks at the president, or rather, like, I think of him in the same way. Like, those are companies I want to do business with, and they're excited, man, and I'm excited. So we'll see where and dude, I'd be remiss. Matt Looney and Cody and all the guys over at Bass Cat, Rick. It's just been really good, man. And we get to be unapologetic about who we are, right? Like, think about that. I don't have to. Like, I called every one of them when the deal went down at St. Like, I'll just look, dude. Yeah. You know me. Like, you're damn right I did it. You're damn right I'd do it again. And if you're not okay with it, then we got a problem.
That's right. I am who I am. Transparency.
Well,
transparency is king.
And look, man, like, you can have a conversation like that and be like, "Hey, man, like, I should have done this or that." We all hell, dude, between now and this afternoon, there's something I wish I would have probably done different.
Yeah.
But at its core, Luke, hey man, like, sorry, like, hope you're okay with that. If you're not, here's my sincere apologies. But
I'll mail you a card. Real quick.
Go ahead.
I just want people to understand real fast when you were talking production, because I don't think, and I've talked it on the show, but I don't think people understand kind of where we're headed. So there was a production, worked with a different production company, whatever, that relationship's ended, and you guys in the league decided to basically start your own from scratch, including buying equipment. Hey, we're going to figure out how to do live. So when you see criticisms on live, folks need to understand this isn't a professional production company. Now we have it's we're trying to run it as such, right? I say we're all, and you got Mike Alton involved, who is very professional. His team, Isaac, we got others involved that have worked in production, but this was essentially like the league in the beginning, where it's like, hey, we never ran a bass tournament. Let's go throw some shit out there and see what sticks. And this year that has added yet another kind of thorn in your side, another responsibility for you is the full com production side of things. So I didn't want people to think, what the hell is he talking about? Production. Like, no, it's our own production arm essentially.
Yeah, so we basically started a sister company that's totally separate. That's directly indirect. We started a company in direct support of the NPFL, and we're doing other things. Like, we got a few tournaments we're looking to sign contracts on to go do some of the stuff we do here for some other entities out there. So it's its own company. It's got its own rev line. It's got its own whatever. And I'll be honest, dude, I probably knew more about the production stuff than I did running bass fishing tournaments. So I felt like I was ahead of the game. And I want to say this real quick. Like, dude, Fix Productions and the guys at Wisconsin, we wouldn't be here without them. You know what I mean? Like they went through it with us. It was just, when it came to control and what we wanted to do long term, like you said, 5-7 year plan, I just felt like it was a better move for us to kind of bring this in house. And luckily we found Mike. Between he and I and our technical abilities, there's a lot of things here that we're dealing with that I dealt with in the military, networking, cell exploitation, stuff like that, like working with cell networks and how we do all that, and Starlink and satellites, blah, blah, blah. As a matter of fact, some of the guys are like, hey man, like, we know you, like, how do you know this stuff? I'm like, dude, it's just what you pick up when you're around it. You know what I mean? But we really took a vastly different approach to how live is done. We're the only ones currently doing it, not just in bass fishing, but period. The closest thing that you would get, and it's even we're taking it a step further, is like when you see the guys out there chasing like the Baja 1000, the racing events out there in the desert where you see a helicopter flying, they're streaming these cars, ripping through the desert and all that stuff. That's close to the architecture we're setting up, but we've even taken it. We are revolutionizing the way live sports are broadcast with the parent company that we're using. Then they're actually going to come to an event and shoot a piece because no one else is doing what we're doing, and they're going to use it for some of their promotional stuff and marketing. But dude, that guy sitting behind me is a mad scientist. Like, you're going to like,
oh, he is that.
This will be a cool event. And just because people said we couldn't do it, well, here we are. Right. And dude, listen, I love LBL fans. Love them. Like, love them to death.
Shout out lowlifers.
And I'm going to give the lowlifers something to chew on. When you see your stuff being emulated out there in the industry and doing the same kind of things we're doing, and very subtly, I'm like, yeah, man, like it's there's no mistake that other entities are taking some of the stuff we're doing and replicating it. But dude, the one thing they can't replicate is when I show up at that ramp in the morning and the staff is like, no one can ever replicate, in my opinion, what we're doing and the culture we built. Culture is the most difficult thing to establish. It's the most difficult thing to maintain. and the culture and the way people feel around you, your aura as a company is once you lose the locker room, bro, at this level, you're never getting it back. So if you're hanging on the side of a cliff, you think, I'm just going to relax this hand for just a second. You're done.
Yep.
You're going to fall to your death. And I'm not worried about it, man. Like, come and chase us all you want. You're not us. So we're very comfortable in our skin, unapologetic about it. And if you're down with that life, we'd love to have more fans watching. Like, dude, I was blown away. I think we hit 4,000 concurrent on YouTube, and I don't know what we had on the website concurrently in that moment. Like, I was out there like cheering, like, come on, 3,998, give me 2. Like, call my daughter, like, hey, log on so I can see 5,000 or 4,000. Yeah. So doesn't seem like a lot, but dude, the view time, like what we've gotten out of production has been, we put out the numbers, 1,000% increase over year 2024 in event 1. Like, that's a legit 1,028%. You know what I mean? Like, it's
I mean, to be fair though, I saw Slick Johnson post last night. He thinks Bassmaster got 3.7 billion views on the He made a video last night. He said that would be next, 3.7 billion. I think we may get 3.9 billion.
Dude, I have because I was on like in the tackle business for the company. So I got those. I'm like, hey man, more people did not watch your Harris chain event than watches soccer. Like,
no, like, dude, there's millions.
And look, man,
there's millions.
I want the fans at home to understand, and the low lifers. When I send mine at the end of every event, I take the numbers and I send them to every paying sponsor. And the way we do it is, it's just a raw number. I don't use multipliers. I don't round up. Like, hey man, we have this system that parses all of our. You've seen it. It puts, hey, these are your Facebook impressions. These are how many 3-second, 15-second, 1 minute. This is how many hours are you like. It pulls all that in and spits out a report. Brad has no impact on what those numbers are other than the working to get them. And dude, those companies are so appreciative of, it ain't a fancy slideshow. It ain't, 37 slides to say we had whatever. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, here's a 12-point, all the categories you ask for. These are our numbers. Do with them what you will. Because here's a secret, man. In today's day and age, those companies know what our numbers are just like we do.
Exactly.
So, they don't. It's something I provide for them, and so, dude, that's one of the major things. The way sponsors have been treated in the sport, I can't believe any of them are still here. Just being honest with you.
That's a statement, and it's a true one, because I've been on that side of the fence. I have been on that side of the fence, and you and I've talked about this some, but I've sat in those conference room meetings where people come in trying to get you to pay, and it's astonishing some of the stuff I've heard over the years. Just what was always astonishing to me was just the arrogance of, we are such and such, you shall pay us this because we are this. And it's like, well, question, what do we get out of that? You get to be a sponsor. But hang on, but that's a lot of money. That's more money than we've spent in the whole marketing budget last year. But think about it. You get to be a sponsor. You're welcome.
Dude,
yeah,
it's so funny.
It's incredible. That's it. I think that's why we're seeing, though, industry-wise, and I think it's why non-endemics don't hang around very long either. I think because that's a little different deal. They come and go, but I'm saying I think a lot of what we've seen, it's a revolving door a lot of times, right?
Oh, well, yeah. And dude, it's funny. I won't name the name of the sponsor, but he called me and goes, hey man, I want you to understand something. I was like, oh man. Like, that's how the conversation started. Like, hey Brad, how you doing? Good. Hey man, there's something I want you to understand. I'm like, oh crap. Like,
yeah, here we go.
What did Benson or Al do now? You know what I mean? But he said, hey man, I want you to understand, I want you to have a good appreciation for how it feels on the outside of what you're doing at the NPFL. He said, since our partnership began this year, I've called you 6 times and asked you for 6 things outside of the contract. Like, I've asked you, hey man, do you think we could change this or do this? He goes, how many times have you said no? I said, never. I said, I've never told you no. He goes, that's not normal. He's like, so, and dude, it's like, man, dude, you ever tell Marissa no? I don't tell Michelle no, ever.
I'm scared to death of the triple threat, dude.
Yeah. So, dude, if we want to nurture a relationship and we want to have a good, very mutually beneficial, look, I need sponsors. They need me. You know what I mean? Like, so we need to work together because at the end of the day, I want them very, very happy. And dude, delivering things, dude, the Bill Lowen video that we did for Johnson, they didn't ask us to do that. It's not in the contract. I said, hey man, this would be a cool thing. Like, I want to highlight the fact that Johnson Outdoors is here, that we're running the Explore series, that Johnson Outdoors is paying anglers extra money to promote their products in our league. And dude, it was like, oh my God, like, we can't believe you did this. I'm like, well, we're going to do another one. You know what I mean? Like, because it's good for my brand too. It's not just good for, it's just like the Kings of Bass thing. Dude, that's equally as good for the NPFL as it is for Strike King and Lose and Rather Outdoors. So having that relationship is something we work really hard on. And I tell them when we do those sponsor meetings, you've been in there, hey man, your job is to make me say no. Like, try to bring me something. I'm like, dang, Luke, like, I'd love to
do it.
But man, that's, yeah, like, no, today, and I'm sure it'll happen. But dude, we don't say no. If we absolutely, I take that back. There was a sponsor that wanted us to grill some fish around the campfire one time. And I was like, hey man, that's not really how this works. Like, we can't do that. So anyway,
no fish fries for the NPFL coming up for a commercial, and no jigs getting thrown at Fat Cat's face. That's a guarantee. Brad, I appreciate it, buddy. I know it's a crazy busy week. Douglas, how much weight is it going to take at Douglas? We'll end on this one. 3-day total. What's your guess?
So I got to come down and fish during the off limits. We were down here doing some cell testing. Dude, I really think based on what's going on and how good, and here's the weird thing, look how good the field is. Dude, you got Buddy Gross. You got guys who you got Brian Hatfield. You got guys who are TVA, Brandon Perkins, like
Hunter Sales living right there in his back.
Hunter Sales and oh my gosh, dude, I'm forgetting it. Todd Goad, like
Goad in his back.
Here's the deal. Everybody's saying 15 pounds a day, 45 to 46 is going to win this thing. I really think the guy who wins this tournament is going to have to catch an average about 17 and a half or 18 a day. I think we're going to be in that 48 range to win. Like, if you're going to beat, though, if Todd Goad is going to beat Buddy Gross, I feel like he has to do better than 15 a day. I think he's got to be in that 16 and a half, 17, 18 pound range over 3 days. Dude, the number of fish here is amazing. You know, you could say this lake for a big fish lake is kind of on, you know, every lake's got a cycle to it. Dude, there's a lot of 3 and 4 pounders in this lake. Lot.
For sure.
So, and big smallmouth, big largemouth. I think the water's, I was here 2 weeks ago. The water's up 10 feet. It's almost to where it's going to level out. They're still on the spring, coming out of the winter on the come up. Lake last night was 993. They run at about 995. So it'll probably be there at 995 by the time this event starts. Dude, you know, anytime you bring the water up on a body of water, fish are going to move up into those newly created areas. Guys are catching them shallow. They're catching them transitioning out and transitioning in, and they're also catching them out deep. So for us as a league and production, I'm really excited about the variation. So you asked me a simple question and I went off on a tangent. 48 pounds to win.
48 pounds. I'd say somewhere in that range for sure. 45. Douglas doesn't have, we've not had a major event on Douglas in a minute, a multi-day event. There's a ton of regional stuff up there, obviously, and single day and all that. But used to play host to the Elite Series a good bit. Used to play host to the Opens. We've seen a lot of big events on Douglas over the years. So this will be the first time kind of a national trail has been back. And, you know, I can tell you, David Mullins was excited about it. David, who didn't sign up, he asked me, he said, hey, can you ask Brad if I can just sign up for this one this week?
Dude, it's
wanted a dose this week.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Dude, I really feel like for the fans at home, and it all goes back to the product we put out there, right? So there's 2 products we work on: the fishing tournament with the anglers and what we do for and with the fans from the aspect of I think this will be a very enlightening event this week with variation in techniques. And dude, electronics, it's if the guys are catching them out there deep, like I will say this, there is a chance, and I'm going to tease the shit out of this because I think it will happen. There's a chance that fans will see stuff on our live that they haven't seen in 50 years.
Okay.
Bet.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about too. We'll see. This one's a wild card, buddy. This one's a wild card. Douglas is wild. East Tennessee in general is such a fishing area, such a tournament area, rich with tournament history. But dude, it is it's not going to be a play. You're not going to see 25 a day. It's not going to be Santee. You're not going to see 9-pounders weighed in. It's not going to be that kind of week, but full of fish and a field full of absolute hammers. They're going to catch them and kicking off.
Stacked up. Wait. I mean, dude, weights are going to be super tight.
I don't think it'll be a blowout. I don't think somebody will run way off with it unless they just find something very special. But things kick off Thursday, the 22nd. As y'all are listening to this on Monday, we go live though on the 23rd. There's never live. I see comments every tournament. We're never live on day one. Ever NPFL. Other than year one, we did it a little bit. We are not live. We will not be live on Thursday. You can keep up on the Fishing Chaos catch track, but on Friday and Saturday, we will be live 8 to 1 Eastern time, 8 to 1, tmpfl.com, YouTube. Brad Fuller, you're the man. Thank you for joining me.
Real quick, Luke. So, and dude, I know we're way up there on time for what you normally do, and I appreciate this. Dude, we got a benefit tournament on Wednesday. Okay. I know this is gonna post like we're cutting it off at noon today. I don't know if this will be up before then, but if probably not. But my point is, dude, we've got an angler who's been diagnosed with ALS.
Yes,
and
it's difficult.
Yeah, man, to see what him and his family are going through. And I talked to Chad, and dude, if all we can give him as bass fishing fans is to know that there are a lot of people out there who love and support and are pulling for him and his family, that's good enough. Like, we're going to raise some money. We're going to give Chad a decent check. But, dude, just come out and support Chad, right? Like, if you didn't get in the tournament because you didn't meet the cutoff, just come out and hug his neck and let him know that, dude, he's going to have in front of him a horrendous fight with ALS, and we're here for it. So, come out and make sure that,
Liberty Pro-Am Wednesday, it's on Cherokee, 8 to 12, I believe, was the time frame on that. And then but you can donate as well. And there are links through NPFL on social media. It was a $200 entry fee, but by the time you guys hear this, it may already be shut down. But you can donate. Chad Poteet and his family. Chad's one of our anglers that, like Brad said, man, he's fighting a hell of a fight. And we're all thinking about him, praying for him, and let's show him some fishing community love for sure.
This is what the short sport should be. These are the things that we should get behind and preach about and get excited about. You know what I mean? And trust me, my next phone call is going to be to Slick and say, "Hey, man, like let's promote this thing, right?"
Post about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Get up, Slick Johnson. Call him like that's what Keith O'Shea calls Slick Johnson. So call him
Slick
Johnson. Call him on it.
Yeah, man.
Brad, everybody, we all check out NPFL this week. We trying. Well, that's all she wrote with NPFL Presidente. Brad Fuller, I appreciate him coming on right in the middle of practice there at Douglas to chew the fat with us a little bit, and always appreciate his honesty, his attitude towards things. And in my 5th year, been working with him since the very beginning. He is somebody that I'm glad to stand shoulder to shoulder with in this old bass fishing industry. There's no doubt about that. Appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. As always, all you low lifers, means a lot to me. Going to take you out with some Biloxi Blues. Not planning on doing an LBO light this week. I'm a few weeks behind right now on those, and I apologize, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll load up podcasting gear and take it to the mountains of East Tennessee, but I'm doubtful on that. It's going to be a busy week, and I'm running on fumes right now. I will take you out with some Biloxi Blues. I appreciate each and every one of you. See y'all next week. See you. NPFL Live the 23rd and 24th, Friday, Saturday. See you. You better watch it, dadgummit. You better watch it, I swear. If you don't, If you don't watch, you ain't getting a camera.
These Biloxi blues, it happens every night. And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine. The summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind. So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time.